What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now movement. This week, I sit down with Jonathan George. Jonathan is known as the human hitmaker because of the ability to see people's untapped potential, his methods to pull that potential to the surface, and his ability to cultivate it into greatness. As CEO of JG Entertainment, he's been coaching, branding, and launching Rockstars in the entertainment world for 20 plus years, as well as creating Rockstar brands for top influencers and entrepreneurs. Now, as the creator of the Unleash Your Rockstar movement, he transforms our future leaders and entrepreneurs from ordinary to rockstar status so they can reach their highest level of impact, influence, and success. This conversation with Jonathan is absolutely out of this world. He talks about how you can turn your flaws into strengths, which he refers to as flawsome, which is amazing. And we talk about his battle with the fact that people judged who he was. You see, Jonathan was given a music contract at a young age, and they found out he was gay, and they pulled the contract. You know, when we go into this world and we feel like we can't be ourselves, how do we begin to shine? And that's exactly what I talk about with Jonathan. I think you guys are going to absolutely love this conversation because I did. Now, before we get to the interview itself, I want to remind you guys the tickets for Growth Now Movement Live are on sale now, and they are flying off the shelves. We're already 1/3 of the way sold out. VIP is more than half sold out, but I want to make sure that you guys get your tickets. So head over to gnmlive.com. Join me, Natalie, Jill, Brooks Holland, Anthony Trucks, and so many more as we come together to really level up our lives in all areas. I cannot wait to see you guys there. Head over to gnmlive.com, get your tickets, and we'll all join together in May. Now, without further ado, let's get to the episode with Jonathan George. Jonathan, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you know, we were chatting a little bit before I hit record, and I was telling you how excited I was about this conversation because of the message that you put out into the world is so much bigger than one person. You know what I mean? It's really about shifting the whole entire paradigm, not only for influencers and entrepreneurs, but for the world, right? And it's really about self-confidence and how to grow your brand with that and all the amazing things in between. But why don't we start with who's Jonathan today, and then we'll break down how you got there.
Yeah, I've been, now I help millennials. I help entrepreneurs, our next generation of leaders, to step into their power, to step into, to be extraordinary rather than just being ordinary. It's how to take the ordinary talents and become extraordinary in life. And I've been doing this for 20 years with some of the top stars, a lot of the top stars in LA, as well as, influencers and entrepreneurs, and building star brands for people. And, for me, kind of going into like how I got there is that I know what it feels like to have a desire in my heart, to have something that I want to give into the world and feel like I have a calling in my life, but not being able to step into that because I didn't have the permission to step into that. I felt like everybody was stripping me of that rather than saying, get out there and do it. So, I'm hell-bent on making sure that every single person that feels like they have a desire, a dream, a passion to do something, the inkling of I feel like I'm supposed to do this. I want to make sure that you do it, but not just do it mediocrely, but I mean, do it powerfully so that you can make your greatest impact, have your highest amount of influence on this planet. So it's a very powerful calling that I've got in my life, so.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I love all of that because I think so often people they're waiting for somebody to give them permission instead of just kind of taking control of it themselves and kind of taking it to the next level. Right. And so often we go through life and we're stripped of those things and people say, no, don't do that. Do this. No, don't act this way. Act this way. And there's so much of that in our life and we have to kind of be able to block out the noise. Why is that so important to you
through this journey that you're creating now?
Well, I moved to Los Angeles in 2000 for my music career, for singing, and and I was on a show called Next Big Star, and this was with Ed McMahon. And Ed McMahon, he was the Ryan Seacrest of his day, and he's the one who did Star Search and all of that. And I was a grand champion winner on the show, and with that, came record deal, options, and I had a record deal on the table. This is when Google first came out. They Googled my name. Of course, I was 5 years old at the time. No, I'm kidding. But Googled my name and said, it said that they found out that I was gay. And at this time, everybody's like, well, why does that even matter? Because we look at now, and there's so many artists who are gay, and it's open. It's not a big deal. But back then in 2000, it was a very big deal. And they swiped me from that. They shredded that up. My team, my management tried to get me married. They tried to, change my music, change the way I talk, the dress. I mean, every single thing about me tried to change me, rather than trying to help me become the rock star that I already was inside. Yeah. And what it did is it brought me back to the time, as a kid being bullied, relentlessly bullied by people. Thank God I'm a rebellious little spirit, and I got fire. I mean, I'm a fire ant. So, don't mess with me. And I had an incredible tribe of friends that would stand up for me. So I wasn't like I was backed into a corner, but I didn't even know what some of the name calling what meant. I just knew that I just said, you're not good enough. And then, my dad's a Pentecostal pastor from Dallas, and everybody in my family for generations are Pentecostal ministers. And, the spiritual abuse that came along with that, and none of it was done out of control or hate, but still, again, being told you can't go to heaven, that you can't reach your destiny, that you can't, fulfill your calling, you can never be blessed. You, again, are told you're not good enough. And it was like this thing that kept feeding into my spirit is you're not good enough. And that was when I was sitting here with an option: get married, have a beard, they call them beards, a wife that kind of was your mask. And I just said, this is not going to be me. And I'm going to be fully authentically me. If I can't walk in who I'm supposed to be, I'm not doing this. And so I began to develop all these young talent, because in music, I've got a music degree. My whole life has been music in the church. And so I began to develop all these young superstars in Hollywood, and they began to take off so quickly. And it was because of that burning desire to say, hey, I'm going to help you rock the person who you are, not try to change you or make you something different. You're going to be authentically you. And that is what people fall in love with. And that's what people trust. And in this past year, I went and got my master's practitioner's license in neurolinguistic programming, just so that I'd have some more tools to be able to help people on a different level. And in that process, I had to overcome some fears that I didn't even know that were existing, that were holding me back in my business, that were holding me back in, because the fear of judgment, the fear of self-judgment, that was fear of becoming successful, because I was so scared of people saying, what you're doing is not good enough, and I had no idea where that came from. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it forced me to realize all of this. And since I have broken through these fears, and I'm confident, I'm secure, I'm all these things. But then I had to, after breaking through that, I had to start talking about sharing my story. And I was like, I don't want to talk about being the gay guy. I don't want to be the gay guy. I just want to be the guy, But then I was like, wait a minute. This is my journey. This is my path. And my journey and path may not look exactly like yours, Justin, but we have the same path. Every single one of us have something that is holding us back. The fear that's holding you back from really reaching your full potential. Yeah. And so I'm all about helping people knock through that noise, knock through that limiting belief systems. And that's so, it's touche. It's stuff we hear us all the time. You're limiting beliefs, but it truly is. And most of the time we do not even know that they are there because it's been there for so long.
And you're 100% right. And it's so funny that we're having this conversation now for two reasons. One, I actually just posted something on Instagram talking about how you are not your past, you are because of your past. And
yes.
So it's the journey, right? So so many times we get told that we're something when we're younger, and then we hold on to that instead of it empowering us. And that's one thing. I literally just posted that yesterday. And then I look at what I'm actually going to speak to a corporation in 2 days, and I'm talking about limiting beliefs and how do you get rid of these limiting beliefs. Like this is like the poignant conversation at the right time. And before I even knew this stuff was going on, you were scheduled already to be on my show. So this is perfect. And so when I think about these things, like limiting beliefs and things that were told when we were younger, how do you start to reprogram yourself and be okay with who you are so you can live big?
Well, one of the things that I have, I don't know why it came so naturally to me, but the thing is that I see people's full potential. So when I meet somebody, everybody's focusing on the negative things. People are going, oh my God, they're this or that. And I'm like going, oh my gosh, did you see this about this person? I was like, they're so powerful in this part of their life. And so most people don't understand what their power is, what their super talent, their superpower. And I'm not talking about your ability to, we think of talent. We think of, oh my God, Beyonce, she's the best singer or the best dancer. Michael Jackson was the best, we think of talent in those ways. Those are skill sets. Those are things that, yes, we were given some gifts naturally, like, we look at Michael Jackson as a kid. The kid was blessed. But, or Tiger Woods, I mean, he was, on a world record at age 4 for golfing. But they were still skill sets. They had natural talents, but their parents helped develop those skill sets, right? But I'm talking about your character strengths, things that you just naturally innate have in you. And so the first thing that has to happen with every single person that I work with is we have to lock in what your true talents, your true gifts, your true innate abilities are. Because it doesn't matter where you may lack in your life. When you know what your true talents are, and I'm talking about things like somebody who has who's a connector, somebody who can go and just talk to anybody, who has an outgoing personality, or someone who is incredibly strong leader, or someone who has the ability to be able to formulate things in ways that people can digest. I mean, these are just something that you don't have to think about. You're just like, oh, this is it. They're just abilities that you have. Mm-hmm. And, when I moved to LA, I didn't really have any idea of what the music business was. I mean, I did music because it was a active service. That's what we were taught. And then I was like, oh, I get to make money at this. I don't know anything about the music business, but what I do know is that I have abilities to talk to anybody. I have the abilities to, I'm a creative type that, like, it doesn't matter if you tell me no, I'm going to create a solution to that problem, right? I'm going to get you to say yes to me. And so with those 2 power points in my life, I was able to maneuver my life through things while I was learning and getting skill sets. So, we have to understand what our superpowers are, what we're offering the world.
Yeah. So I think sometimes we kind of know what our superpower is, but we're afraid to admit it to ourselves. Therefore, we don't know how to bring it into the world. How does somebody kind of go into their life and really begin to bring that out? Like you have always been, you go back, like you said, you always knew that you were an outgoing person. Obviously, if you're going to be a performer, 9 times out of 10, you're outgoing. It's not a forced thing. So you can easily say, these are my strengths. But a lot of people they're a little bit more withdrawn. Like, how do they start to admit to themselves, like, these are my strengths? Does that make sense?
Right. Well, I do have a little PDF, so people could do an exercise. They can download it free on my website to be able to find out what your strengths are. And it's not a really difficult thing. And like you said, I think most people know innately what that is. But a lot of people question what that is, because what happens is, like, you can do something. I'm like, God, Justin, you're so good at this. And you're like, really? Because it's so natural to you that you don't really think of it as a gift. You don't think of it as a power. You just think, oh, I just do this because it's, I just always done this. And so I think bringing awareness, it's not a difficult task to figure this out, but you have to bring awareness to it. And then you got to start walking confidently in that and learning how to use that talent to surpass areas where you may lack.
I love that. I love when you're talking about doubling down on your strengths and not worrying about the things that you're lacking, right? And so when I look at that, like, there's so much I lack, and I'm the first to admit that I'll look at the things I lack more than the things I'm good at. But over the last couple of years, I've been more accepting of my strengths, right? And it's been a journey for me to figure that out. So how do you outweigh your weaknesses with your strengths, and what are you doing currently, like with your clients, to be able to kind of work with that? Because I know you take artists and you make them even bigger. So how do you do that with your artists?
Well, I do this with influencers, with entrepreneurs. I mean, talking about doctors and lawyers and like top entrepreneur people who are really stepping into their power, is that number one is to understand that you can have flaws and still be awesome. And if you look at somebody like Demi Lovato, I always talk about Demi Lovato because what she does is she owns her flaws. She owns her weaknesses, areas that she really struggles, and she just owns it. She lays it out there. And what that does for her is it creates vulnerability, and we fall in love with her more. The second thing is that she takes ownership of it and takes the power away from media, from haters. And what I call this is being flawsome, having flaws and still being awesome, because really we all have flaws in it. And if you look at superheroes, when someone is writing a superhero or talking about somebody in a movie or whatever, they always give the main focus to their flaws, because the flaws are what it makes us like people. So when you've got, say, I just got finished going into Arthur Murray Dance Studios and speaking to their studio owners and their executives and their teams. And I was having a workshop with just the executives and the leaders. And I was like, listen, you have to own up to the things that you are weak at. And the reason why is because it makes your team trust you. It makes them like you, because if you sit there and try to mask what you're weak at, they all know what you're weak at. Right? We all can pinpoint weaknesses. But if you can take ownership of it, then automatically they like you, they trust you. And then the second thing that does for you is it allows you, when you say, hey guys, this is an area where I'm weak. Who can do this? So you have just given somebody in your team the opportunity to step up into their power, rather than you sitting there trying to mask this, people hating you for it. It makes them like you, and you're also giving your team the opportunity to stand up and to serve and to walk in their powers and their gifts. So it's just a very powerful tool to really, truly own that. Now, there are weaknesses that are going to hold you back, like addictions, things that really strong character flaws that will hold you back, and you're going to have to work on your flaws. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. But let's, if I'm creating a show for a superstar and we're going on, TV, we're going to mask our weaknesses. That doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that we're going to showcase all of your talents. I'm not going to have you sitting here running and doing runs like Christina Aguilera if you're a Britney Spears type singer, right? I'm going to have you do what you do best, get out there and showcase what you're really great at.
Right.
It's not a complicated situation, right?
And it's so true. I have a good friend of mine was in a boy band with Warner Brother Records years ago, like 2008, 2009. And they did that with them really well, because they weren't the strongest singers together. They were fine, but they weren't the strongest singers, but they could dance really, really well. Unfortunately, that was around the time One Direction was coming out, when boy bands weren't dancing anymore. So they missed the mark as a record label, but they did that really, really well. So I saw that happening, and that has nothing to do with saying, hey, look, we're just going to pretend like these aren't our things. It's just about highlighting it's at times we have to show our highlight reel to get to where we need to go. But the vulnerability gives us the power.
Yes.
With vulnerability, I mean, it's tough. I think being vulnerable is some of the most courageous, most confident things we can do. And I know you talk about confidence a lot. And so confidence is something most people lack. It's something that I'm weak at. It's something that I talked about openly at Growth Now Movement Live this last year, but I'm still able to overcome with my strengths, right? And so how do you create confidence in your life? How do you truly embrace that?
Well, there's a couple of things. It's so funny because we're talking about, these groups, but, everybody comes to me wanting to be Christina Aguilera when they're really a Britney Spears.
Yeah. And
we can laugh about that. We can joke about that. But what has Britney Spears done for herself? She has created, her net worth is way more. She has more accolades. Her global impact is greater. And while she may not seem to be the bigger vocalist, it doesn't matter. It's how you package those things to shine. And it's really funny how we've covered the 3 topics that I always really hone in on is discovering what your true talents are and reshaping your thinking about that, understanding your flaws and being able to own up to those and walk in confidence with those while you're working on them. And the third thing is how to brand your abilities to outshine everyone else. You know, as an entrepreneur, and you've got, just like you got how many podcasts are you up against? How do you outshine people? And you're going to do that by branding it in a way that people are really drawn to you. And so, and everybody's like, branding, you're thinking about corporation and building. No, we're all a brand, especially in this day and age. I mean, you look at social media, you look at anything. Even CEOs are brought in because of their personal brand that they have created, you know? So, and there's so much noise that you have to brand yourself in a way that people are drawn to you. So understanding how to create that brand in a way that people can digest you powerfully. What kind of emotional aftertaste are you going to leave with people? And I think that when you understand who you are and know how to walk confidently in that and package it in a way, it creates unshakable confidence. And the other thing is what is it that you're going at? Having clear intentions of what you're going after. What is your purpose? Like why are you doing this? And being prepared. You know what I mean? Just being prepared. You know, if you're running in late to places and no, when you show up early, you've got yourself together, everything's organized, you know what you're doing. It's just all these pieces create confidence that is so unshakable. And it doesn't matter what comes your way. You're like, I'm cool. I'm good. You know, somebody can say something. It's good. You don't have to like me. I've got a purpose. You know what I mean? It's like when you're real clear on what your intentions are, then it doesn't matter the outside noise. You're locked in on where you're going.
Yeah, and when that's the case, and you prepare yourself for those things, when that moment happens, that you have that big leap forward because of like the Inc. article for me or whatever. When you look at that stuff, if you prepare yourself, if you have the intention set, if you have the end goal in mind, it makes it easier to react too, because there's going to be moments where you have to react. And when I look at that as an entrepreneur, there's certain moments that are super scary. And whether it's, putting your whole entire savings up on the line to get that next jump forward. But if you're prepared properly, you're ready to do it. You're ready to say yes or no. You're ready to commit, which I love. And that's what you're teaching these individuals is you're setting them up for success through confidence, through packaging themselves in such a way. How did you transition from the music industry into business and influencers? Was it a natural thing, or what did that look like?
Well, what is crazy is that it's all the same. It doesn't matter what a brand's a brand. And I specialize in taking, Nike's bringing me in to help their team unleash the Rockstar because they want to create entrepreneurial spirit within their team. And it's really funny with that is that, I was creating a band for Simon Fuller, who created Spice Girls, American Idol. And so I was developing this boy band, and I realized that, oh my gosh, within a team, each person has to be an individual rock star. We always say there's no I in team. I disagree with that. There is a strong I, and you've got to be a rock star individually so the whole team can shine. Now, there are going to be people who may be more out in the public eye, but the person behind the desk pushing the buttons, making the phone calls, that person has to be a rock star in order for that other person to shine. So understanding that everybody has to pull their piece and pull in their part and be a rock star at what they do. And so everything is... It was so funny because the very first artist that I started developing, and that was when MySpace came out, and I got her on a TV show called America's Most Talented Kid, and she was a finalist on that show, and then she was on MySpace, and she had over 1 million followers, and she was number one in the music side. Wow. And so, and I just understood early on. It was really funny because, as a kid, we understood what branding was, because in church they'd say, "Son, tell your testimony." You know what I mean? Like, that's part of your branding, who you are, what you've walked through. And so we shared those things, and I learned it very early on with artists. And so I just, it's been, then I went on to working with influencers, because I've been building brands on social media, how to show up on social media, and doing tons of PR work with people. And it just went into 3.5 years ago. I spent like $10,000 to go to a mastermind. I'd never spent money to do anything. Yet I was telling everybody, you need coaching. If you want to make it to the Olympics, you better have the best coaches. If you want to make it through, you better come work with me, whatever. You know what I mean? I was always preaching that, right? Yet I never was doing that. And I didn't realize I was so dried up. I had no idea that I was used up, and I had zero creativity anymore. And so I spent $10,000, went to a mastermind, and I walked away with like 95% of the women that were at that mastermind as my clients. Didn't have any intention of it, but they were like, "Jonathan, can you build our brands?" Because they were all entrepreneurs, and these are like powerful women, number one bestselling authors and doctors and life coaches and different people. And so I started building all their brands, and it just is the same across the board. It doesn't matter. It's how do you show up, and it's really, I think the biggest thing about entrepreneurs is not knowing who they are and how to show up. You have imposter syndrome. You're a life coach, or you're a financial coach. All these different things. It's like, how do you outshine the other people around you? And that is by building your brand in a very powerful way. And, of course, I have a program called Starpreneurs, where people can really build a star brand that creates impact, influence, and success. So that, you can charge what you deserve, and it makes you the expert in your field. And, and that's just the big thing, is to understand who you are and be able to know how to show up and confidently in that, because we all know, you probably have felt it too, the imposter syndrome. What makes me so different when there's all these other people, doing the same thing?
That's something that I still deal with, right? Like, there's moments, my girlfriend will tell you, like, there's moments where she's like, "Why don't you get it? Why don't you get it?" Like, some of the people that I spend time with, and for whatever reason, they reach out and ask me for help. And like people that I now call friends, who I've, admired at one point, they came on the show, we've become friends, they speak at my events, all this crazy stuff. But I think, and stop me if I'm wrong, and if there's a cure for this, let me know. I think the imposter syndrome is forever evolving, right? So
yes,
you get to a point where like you kind of accept it, and then you hit that next part, and you're like, "Oh shit," right? It's like that forever thing.
Yes.
So like, how do you deal with that? Is it just really about pushing through and showing up either way?
Yeah, you know what it is? A couple of things. A coach. Honestly, I'm part of several big masterminds. I have coaches that work with me, and it's always because a lot of times every time we're the ones who get in our way. Yeah. We're the ones who stop ourselves, and I'm so powerful at helping people do that. But when it comes to me, man, I'm like, well, how am I different than Tony Robbins? He's already got this, and it's like, are you kidding me? You know how many people who still don't know who Tony Robbins is? Do you know how many people who are not drawn to Tony Robbins? As much as I may love him, there are so many people who won't be drawn to them. And you look at all these people on the wall that are behind you. People are drawn to these, but there are millions who aren't drawn. There's millions of people. There are so many people on this planet. And there's plenty to go around. And really, so it's when you have a coach and you have somebody that can help you just really keep seeing who you are, help reminding you of who you are and stepping in your power. And it's been a life changer having coaches to help me. It makes me a better coach. It makes me a better creative. It makes me more powerful when I have somebody, the best athletes in the planet, the number one athletes in the planet, the number one singers in the planet, all have incredible coaches. Right. Celine Dion still has incredible coaches. It doesn't matter what actor you can get. Tom Cruise has coaches. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It doesn't matter. And the higher that you get, the better coach you better get.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, like, you know, you talk about athletes. Michael Jordan had multiple coaches. Obviously, he had his basketball coach, but then he had a mindset coach. He had a lifestyle coach. He had all these people to be like, how do I perform at a peak level in all areas of my life? And there are people that they might not have personally done it, but they've mastered it. And it's like this crazy thing because, like, none of his coaches were a better basketball player than him. None of them.
No.
You know what I mean? But it was about piecing it all together, dude. I love all of that stuff because, you know, investing in yourself has been a game changer for me too. You know, I look at everything from masterminds to coaches to events to all these things. It's really just about investing in yourself and then understanding that, okay, now I have to do the work. But opening your eyes to that next thing, which I love, man. And I love the fact that you're somebody who teaches people this and you're openly admitting that you're still investing in yourself. You still have coaches to snap you back into place. Most people don't do that, which I love, man.
Well, it's really crazy that I've invested over the 3.5 years, over 100,000 easily on coaches and creating and working with people that are like, it's usually I end up helping them. It's really crazy, but man, when you have that accountability, it's unbelievable. You know, and it just keeps you focused. And, you know, even having somebody weekly I'm getting on a Zoom call every single week with a group of people. And we have, you know, a leader, our coach, and says, okay, what are your 3 rocks this week? What are you going to do? What are you going to accomplish? And that's all we talk about. What are our 3 rocks we're going to accomplish this week? And I'm sitting there doing it. You know what I mean? So it keeps me accountable, keeps me locked in and focused. And, you know, I've got accountability from other people, or I'm stuck. I'm saying, hey, I reach out to those people, you know. I just went to Palm Springs this weekend, had a great mastermind with friends that flew in from Canada and Vegas and Chicago. And we all just masterminded together and created intentions. It's so powerful. You know, and they're all people who do this for a living, you know, but we had to do it together to keep elevating.
That's it, man. And the accountability is just huge. Like, if you don't have somebody keeping you accountable in some way, shape, or form in your life, you're never going to do it. It's easier to just sit down and not get it done. But I always set my intention for the week with people that I admire, whether it be my coaches or even just other people in my life that I admire in so many ways. And we'll check in and be like, yo, did you get it done? And that's huge, man. That's so big. You don't want to show up the next week and be the only guy who didn't
yeah.
Things. You know what I mean?
That's my competitive edge, man. I'm going to outshine them all. I'm going to outshine them all. I'm going to outdo them, you know?
Yeah, dude. It's so true, man. You know, the cool part about this podcast is I get the opportunity to talk to so many incredibly successful people, however you want to define success. And so my question for you is, what is your definition of success? And what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that for yourself?
Success for me is being completely balanced: mind, body, soul, and finances. There are 4 areas of that. Those have to be balanced. And people are, and I don't think of finance as, you know, money being successful, but without it, the other 3 parts of your life are going to be out of balance. So those 4 things are the 4 things that really are very important for a balanced life, so that you can be happy and whole and have connection in your life. So that's success for me.
Awesome. And what are things that you do every single day or week to ensure them for yourself?
Number one, always, gratitude is so important for me. Keeping, you know, meditation in the morning, and usually in that meditation is always the first thing is the first 5 minutes of just saying thank you for all of the blessings that are in my life, everything that comes my way, even when there's death, whenever there's sorrow, there's pain, there's heartbreak, that whatever that is, showing up and showing gratitude. That is a key component to my happiness, and meditating and making sure that I have my goals, all of my intentions set, and I read through those things, and a big cup of coffee.
Dude, I love it, man. That's so spot on. So let's get to the good stuff now. So how do people start working with you? Where can they start taking some of your courses, the PDF that you mentioned? What's all the good stuff?
If you go to my website, jonathangeorge.com, I've got a book coming out called Unleash Your Rockstar, which I'm really excited about. That'll be out in end of March. And if people want to jump on that, get a free copy of that before it, you know, comes out, They just go onto the website and sign up for it. We'll send a copy out to them for that when it comes out. Also, there's this is free downloads. You can go on there. You can work on. There's a couple things, and when I first start working with entrepreneurs, is understanding what your core values are. It's one of the most powerful tools in life, is understanding what your values are, because it really will direct every aspect of your life, as well as the talents. And you can download those things for free. Just jump in the communities, and I always respond to people. Social media across the board, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm working on that one.
I think we all are. LinkedIn masters or the people working on that one.
Yeah. It's really funny. Either people are really LinkedIn masters, or they're like other social media. And I'm on the other social media aspect. But I work with millennials a lot, and the younger. My generation, we're all younger. I think we're all still millennials in our minds, but but millennials and Gen Z, and so they're all on different social media platforms. They're not even on Facebook, really. But TikTok. I can't do it. One day I just
put 3 videos up on TikTok. It's official.
Yeah, I created the account. It's official. And it was Snapchat, and then it just went to my nephews and nieces, and they're the ones send me like crazy stuff all day long, And so I'm like, I can't do this to sit here and be taken seriously. I was like, if I start showing this crazy side of myself, people are going to be like going, what? Who am I working with? This guy's crazy.
I love it. It, man.
Yeah, but reach out.
Yeah, man, for sure. We'll link all that stuff up in the show notes, so we'll do all that good stuff, man. So obviously this podcast is called The Growth Now Movement. So I wrap up every single episode with this one question, and that is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Oh my gosh. That's a really difficult question, because you think about it, it's like almost every 7 years, there's something that has changed in my life. But literally this year, breaking through fears of self-judgment and realizing where they came from, and being able to forgive and let go. And as much as I help everybody else step into their power, I feel like this year I have stepped into my power in such a mighty and powerful way. I get emotional thinking about my ability to help people. It's a gift that God gave me. It's my ministry. It is my power that God has given me to help people, and to give people the permission to be incredible at what they do. And I truly believe that if every single person walks in their power and walks in their strengths, it's incredible what will take place in this planet. And Justin, it's like, if you're not walking in your power, you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're also robbing every one of us of our blessings. So it's like, quit the mind games, quit walking in fear, break through that mess, so that we can have you show up in your power, so that you can make your greatest impact on this planet. So yeah, that's for me, is I've feel like stepping into my power and realizing this is your gift and this is what you're called to do. So,
man, that is so powerful. I just wanted to thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience, and everything that you've been through, but also just being you and making the impact that you are making in the world. Because like you said, there are so many people who have the ability to, and they're not gifting the world with it. And so just thank you so much for being able to do that and stepping into your own, man. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much, Justin. I appreciate you having me on. And blessings to all you listeners out there. Man, go be game changers in the world. Step into your power, baby.
Love it.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.